Hello, hello, hello. Jordan Sheridan live. Status Coup. It is Thursday, January 12th, the year 2022. Hope everybody's having a lovely Thursday. It is 12:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 Pacific. Uh, Back in action here on the breaking news of additional classified documents found in this time the garage of President Biden's home. So we're going to get into all of this. Attorney General Merrick Garland is set to make an announcement coming up in about 45 minutes. So we might be live while he makes his announcement. All indications are his announcement is connected to the classified documents that have been found now in two locations related to President Biden. So we're going to get into what you need to know, and of course, the differences between what's going on with Biden versus Trump. Before I start on all that, I'll save the public service announcements for later when more viewers come in. Obviously, I've been off for a bit, not really off per se. I was fortunate. My wife gave birth in November to our first child, so that has been an amazing period. If I have bags under my eyes, it's because I have bags under my eyes, and they're probably going to get worse. I don't think I've slept more than 4 hours straight in 2 months, but as is, being a new parent, as many of you know, baby's doing well. Lily is her name, Lily Sheridan, starting to small little smiles here and there. So the plan is I wasn't just off the last 2 months doing, the parenthood thing. I've also, as I told you guys, been working on a book, which for any of you who have ever written a book is kind of a full-time thing in itself. So between, trying to be there and spend time with my newborn and obviously help my wife, who is doing all the new things a mother does. I've also been working on a book. And on top of writing the book, for any of you who have ever tried to get a publisher, that's a whole full-time job also trying to get a publisher. So I'll give more details on all that in a bit when we have more viewers. I'm not going to be back full-time yet, but I will start being back more periodically, maybe once or twice a week, starting next week before I come back full-time, because I'm trying to get more done in the book I'm writing, and I'm trying to obviously continue to, do everything I need to do for my newborn daughter. And maybe on another show, we'll show pictures and all that stuff. Please smash the like button right under the live stream. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this. Share this live stream so more people can see this. Need a publicist? Maybe. If I could find a publisher, for sure. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to find a publisher, but it's like applying to colleges. Literally, I spent the last 2 days on one submission to one publisher, trying to tick off all the boxes that they required just for one submission to one publisher. And obviously, when you have a new child, it's not like you get, 4 or 5 hours straight to just focus on one thing. Obviously, you got to feed your baby. The baby starts crying, change diapers. Before you know it, you haven't had time to write or submit to publishers for hours. Anyway, so I'll get to all that later. If you haven't seen, before we get to the Biden news, January 28th and 29th. So Saturday and Sunday, not this weekend. I think it's in 2 weekends from now. We're doing a mega marathon stream. So we are going to be live Saturday, January 28th and Sunday, January 29th for a mega marathon stream, trying to fundraise for the year so we could do more on the ground reporting. We're going to have special guests. As of now, we got Marianne Williamson joining us, Francis Fisher, Christian Smalls, Nina Turner, Stephen Donziger, and we're going to have other people. I've reached out to quite a few other people too. So I'm looking forward to that. So put it on your schedule. It'll be from 12 noon Eastern to 3 o'clock Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, the 28th and the 29th. I'll be hosting. Tina, Ron, other folks will probably be joining too. All right, let's get to this. And please smash the like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. So on Monday, it was announced that classified documents had been found in a office in Washington, D.C. That belonged to Biden when he was vice president. Now, overnight or this morning, a news statement has come out that additional classified documents have been found, this time in his garage. And by the way, I should have said, if we can make it work, we're going to try and take calls during this stream. I only have about an hour because I got to, help with childcare and all that. So we're going to try and take calls during this stream too. But let's start with the latest. This is from the New York Times, Colin, that first document. A second batch of classified documents from Biden's vice presidency was found. Here's the latest. So this is from the New York Times. The second set of classified documents from President Biden's time as vice president were discovered at a storage space in the garage of his home in Wilmington, Delaware. The Times reported on Wednesday that this set of documents had been found at a location, quote, associated with Biden. On Thursday, a statement by the White House offered more detail by specifying that the location was Mr. Biden's private residence, where he often spent weekends. The White House statement by Richard Sauber, a lawyer for Biden, did not answer fundamental questions about the contents of the documents, who packed them, and whether anyone had gained access to them after he left office. It also didn't say when the second batch had been found. Biden deflected questions about the documents when confronted by a reporter on Thursday at the White House after delivering remarks on inflation. While the White House statement did not indicate whether the president had been aware the documents were there, a reporter asked why he would store classified papers near his Corvette. Gotta love Biden and his Corvette. Biden said, "My Corvette is in a locked garage, so it's not like it's sitting out in the street." He promised to offer a more detailed accounting of the situation later. "I'm going to get a chance to speak on this soon, God willing," he added, as reporters shouted questions. "We're going to see all this unfold." The comments came after the White House acknowledged this week that an earlier batch had been discovered on November 2nd in the closet of an office at a think tank that Biden had used after leaving the vice presidency. In addition to telling the National Archives that day, the White House said Biden's team had begun to search for other official records where files from his vice presidential office might have been shipped after the Obama administration departed, his home in Wilmington and another in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. During the review, the lawyers discovered among personal and political papers a number of additional Obama-Biden administration records with classified markings, his lawyers said. All but one of these documents were found in storage spaces in the president's Wilmington residence garage. One document consisting of one page was discovered among stored materials in an adjacent room. All right, so essentially you have documents that were found in a think tank. I think it was his UPenn library because he was like a honorary something at the University of Pennsylvania. And now in his garage next to his Corvette. We do not know, to be clear, we don't know yet the full nature of what these documents are, who moved them, particularly the documents in his garage. I assume Biden himself at 70 whatever, or is he 80 now, didn't move them himself. But we don't know who moved them, why they were moved, because obviously after he left the White House as vice president, these documents belonged to the White House and should have been remained at the White House. So we don't know what all these documents are or who moved them. And obviously doesn't look good politically. They were found on November 2nd and the midterms were November 8th. So clearly Biden's team chose not to inform the public that these classified documents were found in his DC think tank. That's when the first set of classified documents were found before the midterms. I don't personally think it would have made a difference in the midterms. Clearly, there were other issues that were dominant in the midterms, particularly abortion and the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, and then, of course, inflation. I don't think this would have been like some smoking gun that helped Republicans take the Senate. But obviously, it should have been, this information should have came out before the midterms. Let me go to that. And remember, smash that like button, share this live stream. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this. If you haven't noticed, in my absence, YouTube has kind of turned up the dial a little bit on this channel. We've already been one of the most suppressed YouTube channels on YouTube in terms of independent progressive media. Some have said we're the most suppressed on YouTube, but for some reason, it seems like every 6 months, I don't know if we're on a list or something, but YouTube seems to just hide our channel completely, to the point that I don't actually think most of our live streams are even going out to most of our subscribers. So please, every one of you, please press the like button. Please share these live streams. If you could, on your social media, create a post when we're live. That makes a big difference, so we can get it out to more people. We'll have more to say about YouTube and all that at another time. So, Colin, let's get to the CNBC article. I want to get into this a little bit more. Biden classified documents. White House won't say why it didn't disclose earlier that the records were found. So White House counsel's office would not answer why it failed for more than 2 months to publicly disclose that classified government documents had been found in a private office in Washington, D.C. that had been used by Biden before his election in 2020. Biden, during a meeting with Canadian Prime Minister at the North America Leaders Summit in Mexico, did not respond to a question from reporters about the documents, which were found by personal lawyers. Former President Trump suggested Tuesday in the Justice Department that the Justice Department kept quiet about the documents' discovery in order to not affect the midterms. That's not surprising that Trump would say that. The White House counsel's office on Tuesday would not answer why it failed for more than 2 months to publicly disclose that classified government documents had been found in a private office in Washington, D.C. that had been used by President Biden before his election in 2020. Quote, "This is an ongoing process under review by the Department of Justice, so we are going to be limited in what we could say at this time," Ian Sam, spokesman for White House counsel, said. Quote, "But we are committed to doing this the right way, and we will provide further details when and as appropriate." Biden, during a meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister, did not respond to questions. NBC News later reported Tuesday that the number of classified documents found on November 2nd at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement numbered fewer than a dozen. Former President Trump suggested on Tuesday that the DOJ kept quiet about the documents before the midterms. So we're going to get to Trump, because it seems that the corporate media is almost trying to create some false equivalency that the classified documents with Biden versus Trump are somehow like the same thing. They're not. So if you're coming here to watch and you're a Republican, I'm not going to, feed you what you want to hear. As of now, based on what we know about the classified documents that were found in Biden's at a think tank and in his garage, it's not even on the same universe. It's not in the same universe as the Trump case. However, that doesn't mean the Biden classified documents is a nothing burger, like, the MSNBC crowd and the resistance are trying to make it. It's not a nothing burger at all. But, I know nuance isn't popular on the internet, but these are two separate things. Obviously, politics exists. Political operatives, particularly the Republicans, are going to make a big deal about this and try and make it seem like, oh, it's all a wash. It's the same thing. So you can't go after Trump because Biden did the same thing. As of now, what we know about the Biden classified documents, it's not the same thing. And I'm going to go into why it's not the same thing. But the fact of the matter is, clearly, they should have announced this before the midterms. I mean, it was found on November 2nd. The midterms are November 8th. It's not breaking news why they didn't announce it before the midterms. They didn't want to give the Republicans any ammunition. The polls showed that it was going to be a bloodbath against the Democrats and that we were going to have a red wave. So obviously Biden didn't want to make what they thought was going to be a red wave even worse. So a couple things. Number one, and keep smashing that like button, keep sharing this live stream. I am loath to defend Hillary Clinton. It is not at all a secret my thoughts on Hillary Clinton. However, if I was Hillary Clinton and I was Hillary Clinton's supporters, I'd be pissed off right now. Because remember, James Comey, he came out right before the presidential election in 2016 announcing that they were, reviewing reopening the case against Hillary and her emails in the private server right before the election. I don't think that's why Hillary Clinton lost. The data shows Hillary Clinton lost for actual policy reasons. Trump, even though he was full of it, jumped on NAFTA and the offshoring of jobs and hammered Clinton on NAFTA and deindustrialization and the Midwest and the Rust Belt being destroyed. It wasn't about Russia. I don't think it was about Comey. I think Comey and that announcement played a little part, but I don't really think that's what made the difference. However, Hillary Clinton, the FBI came out right before the election. In this case, Biden's team informed the National Archives on November 2nd that there were classified documents found in Biden's post-vice presidential department office. And apparently, from what we know, nothing was done. I don't know if the National Archives referred it to the Department of Justice right away, but there was no announcement made before the midterms. So, I don't like Hillary Clinton. I think she's a warmonger, a corporatist. I think she's corrupt. To me, the emails in the private server were very low on the list in terms of Hillary Clinton's corruption. I could think of probably 4 or 5 things that are worse that the Clintons have done than the private server and the classified documents. So not a fan of Hillary Clinton. However, she was treated differently than Biden. Biden was given the allowance to hide this before the midterms. Hillary Clinton was not. So I do think she has a reason to be pissed off. And I do think she was clearly treated differently. Now, let's get to more. For Republicans that might find this stream and want to, because, they're just being partisan and it's not about the actual differences between the Biden and Trump case. They just want to say, hey, our fearless leader, Trump, even though what he did is much worse. Look what Biden did. It's all the same, pox on both houses. If that's why you came to this stream, not the case. And I'm not going to tell you that. From what we know about what Biden did, and again, we could be singing a very different tune if more information comes out about additional classified documents in other locations associated with Biden. So this could be a very, very different story if more documents are found in other locations linked to Biden. As of now, they haven't been. If that changes, obviously we'll let you know. But this is not even on the same planet as what Trump did. And if for the corporate media, that a lot of them are now trying to almost frame it as it's similar, or, well, how can you prosecute Trump when Biden did the same thing? It's not the same thing, according to the facts of what we know now. So we're going to go through quite a lot here, so buckle up. Number one, if you recall, this is from the Washington Post. Materials on foreign nations' nuclear capabilities seized at Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Some seized documents were so closely held, only the president, a cabinet level or near cabinet level official, could authorize others to know. A document describing a foreign nation's government military defenses, including its nuclear capabilities, was found by FBI agents who searched former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence and private club last month, according to people familiar with the matter, underscoring concerns about U.S. intelligence officials about classified material stash in the Florida property. Some of the seized documents detail top secret U.S. operations so closely guarded that many senior national security officials are kept in the dark about them. Only the president, some members of his cabinet, or a near cabinet level official could authorize other government officials to know details of these special access programs, according to people familiar familiar with the search, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe sensitive details. Documents about such highly classified operations require special clearances on a need-to-know basis, not just top secret clearance. Some special access programs can have as few as a couple dozen government personnel authorized to know of an operation's existence. So again, I'm going to keep saying it. More information might come out that makes these two cases closer to each other. But as of now, we don't have any evidence that the documents that they found with Biden are like nuclear programs of other countries or any of that like heavy duty stuff that you would not want outside of a secure location. Trump had programs of foreign countries, nuclear programs. It wasn't an accident, and Trump knew what he had. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, this is from the New York Times. Documents at Mar-a-Lago could compromise human intelligence sources, affidavits say. The Justice Department's search of former President Trump's Florida home was spurred by the discovery that he retained a trove of highly classified material that included documents related to the use of, quote, clandestine human sources in intelligence gathering, according to a redacted version of the affidavit used to obtain the search warrant. The portions of the affidavit made public on Friday describe the Justice Department's months-long push to recover sensitive materials taken from the White House by a former president who viewed state documents as his private property and now faces a department investigation investigating the possibility that he illegally obstructed those efforts. The partial release of the 38-page affidavit was the latest in a remarkable succession of developments in the inquiry into how hundreds of pages of documents with classified markings ended up at Mar-a-Lago after he left the White House, in apparent violation of the law requiring all presidential materials to be turned over to the National Archives. The filing also documents in exhaustive detail efforts by the archives and the Justice Department to claw back the material. So, in English, what that means, Trump had information about spies. Let me repeat. Trump had information about spies. Now, to be clear, you can't really draw a complete straight line. However, there was reporting and there was stories coming out about an increase in, this was in October 2021, I believe, an increase in U.S. spies killed abroad, an increase in U.S. spies cover being blown. This was in either October or November 2021, I forget. So Trump had information on other countries' nuclear programs and identifying information on spies. Now, if you are a connoisseur of U.S. history and the deep state, i.e. the CIA, the FBI, later on the Department of Homeland Security, you will know that their sacred cow, the most holy sacred items to these intelligence agencies are identities of their assets, spies, in most cases, in other countries, spies that in a lot of cases are helping to overthrow democratically elected leaders in other countries like Iran, Iran, Iraq, Libya. I could go on. So that is a no-go. That is a no-go. If you blow the cover of spies, you will be on the CIA, the FBI shit list or hit list forever. And from all indications, Trump had that information lying around. As of now, unless you're a complete partisan, because I see some of them in the chat, unless you're a complete, MAGA Kool-Aid drinking Fox News viewer who just, blink twice and the facts don't matter, it's not comparable to so far what they have found among Biden. And by the way, if you're a MAGA person watching, I think your reaction would be pretty different if they found programs on nuclear program documents or documents that identified spies lying around Obama's residence. Pretty sure you'd be flying off the handle if it was Obama. But when it's Trump, you twist yourself into human pretzel. Now, I will be happy to have egg on my face if it is shown that Biden had these kind of documents in his garage next to his Corvette, or in his, the library in D.C., a think tank. So far, we don't have that information. So it can only provide you the evidence we do have on what Trump had versus Biden. Now, this doesn't mean, I want to be clear, that doesn't mean that Biden should get a free pass. Merrick Garland, in about 20 minutes, is going to make an announcement. We believe it's on this. I don't know if he's going to appoint a special prosecutor. I don't know if he's going to, say an investigation is being opened into Biden's having these classified documents. We'll know soon. But as of now, it's not the same thing as Trump. Now, let's go to that Andrew Weissman tweet. New government updated detailed inventory from search at Mar-a-Lago. Dozens of classified documents found in Trump's office and in a storage bin. In his office, 25 classified documents and dozens of empty classified folders. You'll remember the image that the DOJ put up in one of their court filings of all these empty folders. Well, empty folders, generally you have documents in those folders. So as of now, we still don't know where these documents are. That makes it slightly different than Biden. Thus far, from what we know, they've found a little under a dozen classified documents. We need to know what those classified documents were that they found in Biden's garage, in Biden's private office. Again, we need to know who put them there. I'm not going to just take Joe Biden's word that he didn't know they were there. What else is he going to say? Obviously, he's up there in age. Obviously, he's not, in his prime time of cognitive faculties. But we need to know. I agree. Aaron says really shouldn't matter. Classified is classified. Well, yes and no. There's differences in terms of what you have, what other documents you have. But here, I think the difference between Trump versus Biden, as far as we know about Biden right now, is in terms of the obstruction, which I'm going to get to. But I agree. I mean, this needs to be investigated. The documents that Biden had, what they were, who moved them, what Biden knew. He shouldn't just get some slap on the wrist because he's the president. My guess is that's what's going to happen. But if I had any classified documents in my garage, I would be thrown in prison probably for 20 to 30 years. So would you. So the fact that Biden has these classified documents, unless you're an MSNBC partisan or one of these wine moms and, Democratic Party operatives, Biden should be thoroughly investigated, and he should not be held to a different standard than anyone else. He will be because he's the president. He will be because it's politics, but he shouldn't. And also, we need an answer. Why was this not revealed as soon as it happened on November 2nd? As soon as they knew that he had classified documents, it should have been released to the public in transparency. They did not release it to the public. Now, let's go a little bit more into the differences here. This is from the New York Times. Headline: Trump lawyer told the Justice Department that classified material had been returned. I'll wait till you have that one, Colin. Trump lawyer told the Justice Department that classified documents had been returned. The lawyer signed a statement in June that all documents marked as classified and held in boxes in storage at Mar-a-Lago had been given back. The search at the former president's home on Monday turned up more. At least one lawyer for former President Trump signed a written statement in June asserting that all materials marked as classified and held in boxes in a storage area at Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence and club had been returned to the government. 4 people with knowledge of the documents said. The written declaration was made after a visit on June 3rd to Mar-a-Lago by Jay Bratt, a top counterintelligence official in the Justice Department's National Security Division. The existence of the signed declaration, which has not previously been reported, is a possible indication that Trump or his team were not fully forthcoming with federal investigators about the material. And it could help explain why a potential violation of criminal statute related to obstruction was cited by the department as one basis for seeking the warrant used to carry out the day-long search of former president's home on Monday. It also helps to further explain the sequence of events that prompted the Justice Department's decision to conduct the search. So remember the sequence here. Trump was contacted by the National Archives early in 2022, and there was a back and forth with the National Archives to try and get these documents back. Trump returned documents in January of 2022. I believe it was like 15 boxes worth. And his lawyers framed it as, this is everything. Either the National Archives, I believe it was the Justice Department or the FBI, then got a tip from somebody in Mar-a-Lago and in Trump world. This isn't it. There's more. Then he was subpoenaed to return more documents. In June, FBI officials and DOJ officials went down to Mar-a-Lago. They met with Trump lawyers. Trump actually stopped by the meeting at one point. They said everything, all of the documents we have left, the classified documents, are in one centralized storage location. When the Justice Department and FBI officials asked, can we look at it? They said no. They would not let them go through the boxes. And again, they depicted it as it's all in one central location. We found out later it was not all in one central location. It was also in Trump's offices, inside his desk in his office, and in his private residence. So this lawyer, Christina Bobb, who was like an anchor on that batshit crazy OANN channel, she certified in writing that they had returned everything. Now, you're either a moron or you are being told by your client, Trump, that everything has been returned. Either way, they certified falsely in a certified document to the FBI and the Department of Justice that everything had been returned, and that was a lie. That was a lie. Then it gets better. Again, if we're being honest and objective, taking off our Biden-hating hat or our Trump-hating hat, whichever side on the aisle you are, and you're just looking at the facts, what we know about Biden's case, it's not even in the same breath as the Trump case at this point. Let's go to the Washington Post. Trump worker told the FBI about moving Mar-a-Lago boxes on ex-president's orders. I'll wait till you have it gone. A Trump employee has told federal agents about moving boxes of documents at Mar-a-Lago at the specific direction of the former president, according to people familiar with the investigation, who say the witness account, combined with security camera footage, offers key evidence of Donald Trump's behavior as investigators sought the return of classified material. The witness description and footage described to the Washington Post offer the most direct account to date of Trump's actions and instructions leading up to the FBI's August 8th search of the Florida residence and private club, in which agents were looking for evidence of potential crimes, including obstruction, destruction of government records, or mishandling classified information. The people familiar with the investigation said agents have gathered witness accounts indicating that after Trump advisors received a subpoena in May for any classified documents that remained at Mar-a-Lago, Trump told people to move boxes to his residence at the property. That description of events was corroborated by the security camera footage, which showed people moving the boxes, said the people, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss an ongoing investigation. So I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pretty confident that if you're getting a subpoena to return hundreds of classified documents, either in writing or inferred, is don't move the documents aside from returning them. Don't move them from location A to a separate location. Certainly don't move them from your central storage location to your bedroom, to your office, inside your office desk. Again, it's not only that the FBI had to investigate where these documents were, who moved these documents, what Trump knew. They had to almost do contact tracing of who was in and out of Mar-a-Lago near these documents and when, because Trump has foreign dignitaries in Mar-a-Lago. He's got random people in Mar-a-Lago. So it's almost like, you know, in the beginning of COVID, they were saying you got to do contact tracing to know who, if you had COVID and were infected, who you passed and all that, which is impossible in most major cities. But with this, the DOJ and FBI, they needed to trace who was coming in and out of Mar-a-Lago, when were they coming in and out of Mar-a-Lago, and when and where were they close to these documents where they might have had access to them. But Trump was telling his minions, move the documents after being served the subpoena. Again, unless we get very shocking information that Biden did something similar, not even on the same wavelength. And there will be, partisan journalists who try and spin this and try and make it the same thing. And you can't go after Trump. Biden did the same thing. I mean, the objective facts, as of now, they're not the same thing. They're just not. In addition, and keep smashing that like button if you haven't. As a reminder for those that came late, I'm not back full-time yet. I'm going to start popping in more as we go. I'll explain before I end what I've been up to. But this at the end of this month, January 28th and January 29th, so Saturday and Sunday, we're having a mega marathon a live stream on both Saturday and Sunday, starting at noon Eastern to 3 o'clock Eastern. We're going to have special guests. So far, we got Stephen Donziger, Nina Turner, Christian Smalls, Marianne Williamson, Francis Fisher, who's in a new movie about the Standing Rock protests. I have requests out to a whole lot of other people. I'll be hosting. We'll definitely have Tina, Ron, and others pop in. So definitely put it in your calendar. Saturday, the 28th, Sunday, the 29th. We're going to be doing these live streams to try and fundraise for the year so we could do a lot more on-the-ground reporting. I'm also talking to Lewis and Tina about some other on-the-ground reporting trips that we want to do. So please put it in your calendar for the end of the month, January 28th, January 29th, a mega fundraising show. And appreciate any super chats, by the way. I'll read them at the end of this live stream. How's the book end, Lily? I'll tell you in a little bit. One more thing. So in addition to telling his people to move the documents, Trump also tried to trade the documents for other documents he wanted. New York Times, how Trump deflected demands for documents in meshing aides. Wait for you to have that up, Colin. Late last year, as the National Archives ratcheted up the pressure on former President Donald Trump to return boxes of records he had taken from the White House to his Mar-a-Lago club, he came up with an idea to resolve the looming showdown: cut a deal. Mr. Trump, still determined to show he had been wronged by the FBI investigation into his 2016 campaign tie to Russia, was angry with the National Archives for its unwillingness to hand over a batch of sensitive documents that he thought proved his claims. In exchange for those documents, Trump told advisors he would return to the National Archives boxes of materials he had taken from Mar-a-Lago. But Mr. Trump's aides never pursued the idea, but the episode is one in a series that demonstrates how Trump spent a year and a half deflecting, delaying, and sometimes leading aides to dissemble when it came to demands from the National Archives and ultimately the Justice Department. So, bottom line, Trump tried to trade documents. He told his people to move the documents after receiving a subpoena. In December, it came out. Let me see if I have that tweet. Did I put that in there? 1 second. Yeah. Colin, the tweet from Ryan Goodman. It's, where is it on the document? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th thing down. This just reached a new level of seriousness. So this just reached a new level of seriousness. Prosecutors have urged a federal judge to hold Donald Trump's office in contempt of court for failing to fully comply with a May subpoena. Adds significantly to the likelihood of indictments. Keep going on this, Colin. Quote, one of the key areas of disagreement centers on the Trump's legal team's repeated refusal to designate a custodian of records to sign a document attesting that all classified materials have been returned. It appears the issue might boil down to this. Trump's attorneys are scared to put their name behind an attestation that all the documents have been returned. Why? Quote, some of Trump's lawyers are also wary of making any claim under oath based on Trump's word alone. What that means, no Trump lawyer will put in writing, like this was a month ago. None of Trump's lawyers are willing to put in writing that Everything has even been returned. So the Department of Justice and the FBI to this day still do not know if every classified document that Donald Trump had has been returned. So again, unless you're a complete partisan, there's really, based on what we know about what has been found in both a private office of President Biden and the garage of Biden, it's not comparable unless something changes, unless we get new facts. Now, if we start going day after day and more classified documents are found in Biden's bathroom, whatever residences or locations belong to him, then we will have a very different story to tell. But as of now, they're not the same thing. I will say, putting aside the fact that Trump's situation is a lot worse, as I've said from the beginning, I think Trump will be indicted, although this does make it more difficult because obviously it adds an even more political component for the Justice Department. Because if you do indict Trump, you now have the whole right wing, including the Republicans in the House, saying, "Oh, this is Politico. Biden did the same thing," even though it's not the same thing. And by the way, the Republicans, remember, Kevin McCarthy, who's now the speaker, all of them twisted themselves into human pretzels when all this information about Trump having nuclear program classified documents and documents identifying spies and all the shit he was doing, trying to move the documents, all these empty folders, they twisted themselves into human pretzels to claim it a nothing burger. Oh, this is just like a filing issue. This is just like a record upkeep issue. They tried to deflect and make it not a big thing. Oh, how they view it very differently now that it's the president and it's Biden. McCarthy's already calling for investigations. He seems to think the classified documents that Biden has are scandalous, but with Trump, it's different, which, as I always tell you, they're all full of shit. None of these people have core principles, not on the Democratic side, not on the Republican side. We live in the United Corporations of America. Very few politicians actually have a core set of principles. They're a bunch of opportunists, and they have selective outrage based on when it's politically expedient for them. That's the truth. So we'll see what happens. Merrick Garland's about to make his announcement. Colin, could you find that so we could play it when he makes it? It should be somewhere. If you just Google Merrick Garland announcement, and maybe we could just play it when he makes the announcement. My guess is he's either going to announce an investigation into the classified documents that have been found in Biden's private office and in his garage, or possibly a special prosecutor to look into it. I don't know, but he is going to announce this. Let me read some comments here. No Biden fan, but isn't Biden just giving them back voluntarily? As of now, that's what we know. However, a few things. Number one, forget Biden, forget Trump. We shouldn't have different standards for politicians. I don't even care if they're the president versus you and I. So do you think, Stutz, who wrote that, do you think if I had classified documents in my garage and I just called the National Archives and said, hey, I don't know why I had, if I was a government official, let me say, if I was a government official and I just had classified documents in my garage or a private office, and I called the National Archives and said, hey, I don't know why I had this here, but I just found it and I'm returning it. You think that would be the end of it? If I was just some low-level government official? Hell no. You or I would be prosecuted. So we should not have different standards for Biden or Trump. Let's do Republicans blocking stock trading laws since they're above the swamp. You got to love that. Gotta love that. Yes. By the way, Ron and Tina will be live a little bit later, 5 o'clock Eastern time. They're going to be covering the new information and new news when it comes to that banning political stock trading. So there's news on that. And they're also going to be talking right now in the Supreme Court. There is a case before the Supreme Court, and they are starting to hear deliberations that would basically make it damn near impossible for workers to go on strike. And this conservative Supreme Court, what do you think? How do you think they're going to rule? And this is not being covered by the corporate media because I don't really think the corporate media cares that much if workers are allowed to go on strike. So Ron and Tina, 5 o'clock Eastern, will be live, followed by Tina's show at 6 o'clock, the Right Wing Insanity Report. If you are a Status Coup viewer, you will notice we have not been sending out text messages when we're live. It is very expensive to do that. It was costing us between $500 and $600 a month to send you out the text messages. So please mark it down in your calendar. We are live at 5 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern. Obviously, we'll go live earlier like I am now when there's breaking news. But 5 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday, put it in your calendar. And also subscribe to our Substack. You could subscribe for free to our Substack because we also post kind of promos at our Substack before we go live there. So that's a double notification. Because if you haven't noticed, YouTube doesn't always like notifying you when we're live. I'm hearing from our subscribers, they're not even seeing our live streams in their feed. So we're dealing with a lot of suppression on YouTube. Unfortunately, it's been that way pretty much since we started the channel. It's getting worse every so often. Right now, it's been incredibly bad. Obviously, you see the views have been pretty bad. Obviously, it seems that, part of it might have been the holidays. Part of it might just be we're not, we're covering, when you cover more substantive news on YouTube, if you're independent, it tends not to go as, high as more juicy popcorn drama, conflict kind of stuff. But still, with 128,000 subscribers, we should be getting more views. There seems to be a distribution problem and a suppression problem in terms of people not seeing our live streams, not seeing our videos. Also, very, very important. Oh, here we go.
Justice. It informed him that the White House had notified the archives that documents bearing classification markings were identified at the office of the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, located in Washington, D.C. That office was not authorized for storage of classified documents. The prosecutor was also advised that those documents had been secured in an archives facility. On November 9th, the FBI commenced an assessment consistent with standard protocols to understand whether classified information had been mishandled in violation of federal law. On November 14th, pursuant to Section 600.2b of the Special Counsel Regulations, I assigned U.S. Attorney Lausch to conduct an initial investigation to inform my decision whether to appoint a special counsel. Mr. Lausch has served as a U.S. Attorney in Chicago since 2017. Before that, he spent more than a decade as an assistant U.S. Attorney in that same office. I selected him to conduct the initial investigation because I was confident his experience would ensure that it would be done professionally and expeditiously. On December 20th, President Biden's personal counsel informed Mr. Lausch that additional documents bearing classification markings were identified in the garage of the president's private residence in Wilmington, Delaware. President Biden's counsel informed Mr. Lausch that those documents were among other records from the period of the president's service as vice president. The FBI went to the location and secured those documents. On January 5th, 2023, Mr. Lausch briefed me on the results of his initial investigation and advised me that further investigation by a special counsel was warranted. Based on Mr. Lausch's initial investigation, I concluded that under the special counsel regulations, it was in the public interest to appoint a special counsel. In the days since, while Mr. Lausch continued the investigation, the department identified Mr. Herr for appointment as special counsel. This morning, President Biden's personal counsel called Mr. Lausch and stated that an additional document bearing classification markings was identified at the president's personal residence in Wilmington, Delaware. When I first contacted Mr. Lausch about this matter, he said he could lead the initial investigation, but would be unable to accept any longer-term assignment because he would be leaving the department in early 2023 for the private sector. Lausch and his team of prosecutors and agents have conducted this initial investigation with professionalism and speed. I am grateful to them. Earlier today, I signed an order appointing Robert Herr as special counsel for the matter I've just described. The document authorizes him to investigate whether any person or entity violated the law in connection with this matter. The special counsel will not be subject to the day-to-day supervision of any official of the department, but he must comply with the regulations, procedures, and policies of the department. Mr. Herr has a long and distinguished career as a prosecutor. In 2003, he joined the department's criminal division, where he worked on counterterrorism, corporate fraud, and appellate matters. From 2007 until 2014, Mr. Herr served as an assistant U.S. attorney for the District of Maryland, where he prosecuted matters ranging from violent crime to financial fraud. In 2017, Mr. Herr rejoined the department as the Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General. In 2018, he was nominated and confirmed to serve as a U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland. As U.S. Attorney, he supervised some of the department's more important national security, public corruption, and other high-profile matters. I will ensure that Mr. Herr receives all the resources he needs to conduct his work. As I have said before, I strongly believe that the normal processes of this department can handle all investigations with integrity. But under the regulations, the extraordinary circumstances here require the appointment of a special counsel for this matter. This appointment underscores for the public the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters, and to making decisions indisputably guided only by the facts and the law. I am confident that Mr. Herr will carry out his responsibility in an even-handed and urgent manner and in accordance with the highest traditions of this department. Thank you all.
Have you ever spoken to the President about this investigation, sir?
So there you have it. Special counsel has been named. Colin, I sent you a tweet with the guy's name, if you could pull it up. Robert Herr, I think his name is. Let me see. Hold on one second. Named former U.S. Attorney Robert Herr. I don't know why his last name is all caps, as special counsel to probe discovery of docs used by Biden before he returned to the White House. So this is now a pretty big political matter, I would say. Obviously, a legal matter. I think everything, if you've been watching this whole time, everything I have said thus far still stands. I think you have to listen. If you're a right wing host or media personality, you're basically going to use this to declare everything Trump did a wash and say, look, they both did the same thing. You know, you can't go after Trump. That's clearly what Trump's going to do. That's not true because, again, for all the reasons I listed, for all the things that make Trump's case so egregious, it's not the same thing. However, we still might find out more information when it comes to Biden that makes the two things a little more similar. We might find evidence that Biden, his lawyers, tried to obstruct. We might find evidence that Biden had certain documents that were very, very severe and should have never left the White House. So it's just all we could say is it requires an investigation. I think Garland is doing the right thing by naming a special prosecutor. I would be absolutely shocked, stunned, absolutely stunned if any penalty came for President Biden. Besides the fact that he's the president, I think we have seen when it comes to Hillary Clinton and other powerful figures in this country, particularly Democrats, that the law, they seem to have special privileges that you or I would not have if we had a private server in our basement or classified emails or anything like that. But I think Garland's doing the right thing, naming a special prosecutor, even though by all the evidence and information, what Biden did is not nowhere near what Trump did, meaning what Trump did was a lot worse. And as I said, you have current lawyers of Donald Trump today who still will not put in writing and certify that Donald Trump has returned all the classified documents. So it's still a lingering question if Donald Trump still has classified documents that he has not returned. However, as far as we know, we don't know if there's more in other locations that belong to Joe Biden. So we'll just have to see how this plays out. However, why this is so important is it's political season, baby. The midterms just ended. The Republicans narrowly retook the House. They want to investigate, Hunter Biden and our abrupt withdrawal from Afghanistan and what Biden had for breakfast this morning. And, they want to do investigations. That's how they want to, spend their time. They don't want to do anything to seem less extreme. They don't want to propose tax cuts that might help middle class or working poor people. They're already proposing tax cuts for the rich, which is not shocking coming from the Republicans. Obviously, they want to double and triple down on, the culture wars and attacking, the crisis of the woke, like Governor DeSantis down in Florida. But we are going to be hearing a lot around the clock about the investigation into the sitting current president regarding his handling of classified documents. I don't know. I think they're two separate things. Nuance is not sexy on the internet. It doesn't necessarily get you clicks, but I think these two things should be looked at separately. I think Trump's case is Trump's case and the Biden case is Biden's case, and they shouldn't be conflated with each other. However, we know that's not how the real world works. We know that's not how politics works. And we know that starting now, as we speak, MSNBC is going to, be stands for Biden, and they're going to defend Biden, and they're going to dismiss this as not the same thing and a nothing burger. We know that Fox is going to treat this as Watergate, and let's start the impeachment hearings. CNN will be somewhere in the middle, but I think be a little bit more sympathetic to Biden. But we need to know what the facts are. To be clear, I do not think Biden's handling of classified information should have any bearing on whether Trump is indicted or not. Let me repeat. Biden and his classified documents should not have any bearing at all on whether Trump is prosecuted or not. Trump should be or should not be prosecuted based on whether he committed crimes, which I believe he clearly did. In the reverse, Trump's handling of classified documents, his, to me, clear evidence of obstruction, clear evidence that after receiving subpoenas, instructed his people to move the documents, evidence that he tried to trade the documents with the National Archives for them to send him back documents he wanted on the Russia investigation. That should not have any bearing on whether Biden has criminal culpability. If the DOJ finds evidence that Biden obstructed, that Biden's team hid things, I think he should have criminal penalty. And by the way, if we are just taking out the names and taking out the positions, you have two government officials here. One was the former president, one's the current president. Well, I don't know. Shouldn't they be treated like you or me? So let's say, for argument's sake, you were, a low-level person at the State Department, or you were a low-level person at the NSA, or you were, somebody at the Defense Department. Whatever the case may be, if you had classified material, one document in your garage or your private office or your bedroom, they would lock you up and throw away the key. It doesn't matter if you were progressive, a conservative, a libertarian, politically agnostic, you would be locked up. I would be locked up. So to me, both of these men have criminal liability here. Why were these classified documents moved from the White House when Biden left the White House? If you are no longer the vice president, if you're no longer the president, you shouldn't be moving any classified material anywhere. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to us, the American people. So, frankly, neither of them should get special privileges, but they will. To be clear, this is going to become an issue in the presidential election. Obviously, Trump already announced he's running again. My guess is you'll start seeing Republicans announcing, what are we in January? Probably, I'd say by April or May, you'll have other Republicans start putting their hat in the ring. I think it's clear at this point DeSantis is going to, although I think he'll wait longer because there's no political benefit to him announcing earlier. There's rumors of the governor of Virginia, what's his face? Not Terry McAuliffe. Glenn Youngkin might throw his hat in the ring. Nikki Haley, all sorts of people. But this is going to become an issue. I guarantee you, this is going to become the Republicans' shining star now. First it was Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is secondary now. They're going for Biden himself. And to be clear, and Colin, I might give you the unfortunate assignment, we are going to have to compare and contrast the Republican responses when all this shit came out about Trump and them literally, nauseatingly twisting themselves into human pretzels to defend and declare it a nothing burger that, hundreds of classified documents were found lying around the pool at Mar-a-Lago. Remember that? It was not a big deal. We're going to have to compare and contrast their response when it was Trump to now their indignancy over it being Biden. However, they do have a point. Biden's team found that he had these classified documents. The first set, 5 or 6 days before the midterms? They kept it quiet. Hey, they should have announced it. There should have been transparency. I don't think it would have swung the midterm elections so that the Republicans kept the Senate or won the Senate, or I don't think it would have made the difference in terms of Republicans winning the House bigger. Obviously, the overturning of Roe v. Wade was the biggest issue in the midterms, followed by inflation. But we deserve transparency. We should have known right away. Colin, can we attempt to try a call?
We can. I just
so let me just announce, folks. So we're trying a new call program. So we were using the call-in app before, but we're going to try a new program because with the call-in app, there were issues with it where when you were actually listening to it on the call-in app, the tech wasn't good. It was very staticky. You couldn't really hear. So we're going to try a new call program. If it works, we're going to try doing it possibly every show. I'm not going to take too many calls because I have a newborn and I got to go help my wife. So my newborn is up and crying, so I need to get off soon. But we're going to try and take the tech and try out at least one call. So we'll put up the number and see if this works. You could call in about this issue or anything else you want to talk about. Let me know when we have that, Colin. We have it?
I have it set up. So what we'll do is, do you have your phone on you perchance?
Yeah.
So to make it easier on the callers, you can call in, and that way when people call in, they can hear your voice, and I'll just mute it whenever you're talking. That way we don't have an echo.
Okay.
So the number here, I'll put the number on screen for you and for anyone else. It's 719-STATUS-1 or 719-782-8871.
So I should mute it?
No, I'll mute it manually on my end. So just call in, and when you guys call in, you can just leave a quick 15-second or less what you're calling in about, and it'll put you in queue, and I'll be able to put you in and everything.
All right. Now's the time. Who wants to be the first caller in Status Coup history through our new program? Looking forward to it. But before we get the first caller, let me give a couple public service announcements. One, 5 o'clock Eastern today, Tina and Ron will be live. They might talk about this as well. They're definitely going to be talking about the Supreme Court deliberations going on right now, where literally the Supreme Court is weighing whether to basically make it nearly impossible for workers to go on strike. It is a huge case that I guarantee you the corporate media is not going to cover, but the Supreme Court is right now hearing deliberations to make it more difficult for workers to go on strike. This comes after, remember, we were covering on the ground New York City nurses that were on strike for the last 3 days. After 7,000 nurses went on strike for the last 3 days, they reached a tentative agreement this morning. So workers fighting back is working. Workers fighting back is working. The nurses, the over 7,000 nurses, just reached an agreement with Montefiore Hospital and Mount Sinai Hospital in Manhattan. We were on the ground covering that because we continue to be on the ground covering important stories that the corporate media is covering up. So we'll have that at 5 o'clock Eastern. Please put it in your calendar. We're live every day, 5 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday. We're not sending texts right now because it's too expensive and we're kind of having a rough patch financially. Secondly, remember, end of this month, Saturday the 28th, Sunday the 29th, we are going to be having marathon live streams both days, Saturday and Sunday, starting at noon Eastern to 3 o'clock Eastern. special guests we have already booked. Nina Turner, Marianne Williamson, Stephen Donziger, Frances Fisher, the actress who's in a new film about Standing Rock, Christian Smalls. By the way, yesterday, after Amazon for months fought their historic union victory, yesterday the JFK 8 Staten Island Union was officially certified by the National Labor Relations Board. So Amazon has no choice now but to negotiate. So they have been officially certified after Amazon tried to basically overturn that election. So great news on the nurses that got a new contract after striking, on the Amazon workers in Staten Island that have been officially certified. So Saturday and Sunday, the 28th and 29th, we're going to have a marathon show. I got requests out to a whole lot of other people, including Gabriel Shipton, Julian Assange's brother, Kshama Sawant, Thomas Frank, the author of What's the Matter with Kansas Anymore, Michael Moore. We're going to try and get as big a name as we can over those 2 days. The goal for those 2 days is to fundraise. We need to raise money for our on-the-ground reporting and other resources we need at Status Coup. We got somebody, Colin?
Yes, I'm gonna call you back as well on your phone, Jordan.
Okay.
Just don't have it on speaker.
Got it.
And then we have our first call from.
Is it Spam Risk, Colorado?
I don't know what you're seeing, but this is from Charles. Oh wait, from me calling. Yeah, you. Yeah.
All right, I just answered.
Okay, so make sure you're not. Okay, cool. Let me add this. So just Jordan, when you talk, just wait for the other person. Try not to overlay your guys' talking is all. So first call is from Charles. He had a question about the RBN blowback you're receiving. So I'm adding him into the queue. Jordan, can you hear that?
No.
You don't hear the StreamYard audio?
No.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm sharing the wrong screen. Give me 1 sec. Sorry, Charles. One moment. Yes, I can. Okay, can you hear now, Jordan? Go ahead and talk, Charles.
Hey, can you hear me, Jordan?
Hey.
There we go.
Oh, so basically, I was just calling because I like your show and I like Revolutionary Blackout Network. I watch both, but I just feel bad because basically, I think it was like a couple months ago, somebody called into your show and they asked about. So you mentioned something about RBN. You just mentioned real quick. You said something about, from what I saw, is they do a shit on other YouTubers, and since then they've been bashing you like every day. So I was just wondering what your opinion was on that.
It's a free internet. If they want to bash me, have at it. That's fine.
I think Status Coup, we're different than other channels. There's a lot of other channels out there that, kind of cover or go after other YouTube channels and kind of, in their view, it's very important to kind of categorize different folks as, the real left versus I'm not referring just to them. Just I see it a lot on YouTube. A lot of channels spend a lot of time focusing on personalities and other YouTube hosts. Obviously, here and there, I've done that in the past, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. It probably would be better for us, frankly, if we did. There's a lot of views and audience capture you could get by focusing on other YouTube hosts or other shows and going after people and this and that. Obviously, covering more substantive issues isn't as enticing, and YouTube's algorithm actually props up more of that kind of popcorn conflict stuff. But I know, I could speak for myself. I know Tina, Ron, Kim, Lewis are not as interested in that. Obviously, I have opinions on other YouTube hosts and journalists. I'll share them when I think, but specifically on them, I don't really control, what they cover. Or if they don't like me and they want to bash me, technically it's a free country. So yeah, that's my answer. It has been
interesting though, I will say.
Not just their channel, but I saw like one or two other channels. It's kind of been odd to me. Like I literally have been off for 2 months. So it has been interesting to see like the bashing of me almost go up since I've been off. It's like, I don't know. You got to be creative to keep bashing somebody that's not even doing content. If you came late to the stream, my daughter was born in November, so I took a little while to just, spend that time with her, which I've been fortunate. To be clear, I'm fortunate that I've had that ability that, I have my own company that I could take time off. Most men cannot take like an extended period for paternity leave. So I'm so thankful that I have been able to do that, to spend the time with my daughter. As my wife will tell you, I've been working most of this time too. If you don't know, I'm working on a book on my Flint water reporting and the cover up. I'm not only writing, it's actually like a full-time job to try and get a publisher. So I've been trying to find a publisher. Literally as I'm live, I got an email from one publisher that's interested. So that's awesome. But specifically on them, hey, they could say whatever they want. I'm a public figure, so I'm open to criticism. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question.
One little thing you said, and they totally spun and out of control. This is.
I don't want to relitigate the whole thing, to be honest. I mean, I have my opinions, but I personally, for me, and I wrote a piece on this I think at the beginning of the year, I wrote a piece on this. I got to tell you, I mean, it's a free internet. People could watch whatever they want. People will align with certain YouTube hosts or journalists more so than others. But I personally feel however you forget the labels like progressive, neoliberal, conservative, forget that. I personally feel that the left, and I put myself in there too, having done this too much. I think the left has really focused way too much on who's the real left and who's the fake left, and let's focus on getting rid of the fake left and not focusing as much on, okay, what then? Like, we could fight each other till we're blue in the face, and we could fight different YouTube hosts and shit on different YouTube hosts and different shows, but what is it actually accomplishing? I'm not responding. This is not about RBN. I'm talking about the left, period. Like, what is it accomplishing? How is it helping us organize? And I don't mean organize in terms of like electoral politics. I just mean, how is the endless circular firing squad on YouTube? It's obviously, it has its advantages in terms of clicks. I mean, people like conflict, right? But in terms of actually effectiveness, like, how is it helping us fight Biden or the Democratic Party, the corporate Democratic Party, or Republicans? How is it helping us build off of one of the only good things going on right now, which is the resurgence of the labor movement? As I said yesterday, the JFK 8 workers finally were approved, finally were certified at the NLRB. How is it helping us lift the nurses that are on strike or the coal miners? So that's my point. I mean, obviously everybody likes entertainment from time to time or a food fight, but I have my opinions on the Young Turks, for example. I mean, I'm no fan, but like, I don't do live streams about the Young Turks. I don't spend my time on the Young Turks because, like, to me, making sure everyone knows that the Young Turks aren't like truly progressive, like, that's not the most important thing. That's not going to help us achieve policy victories. That's not going to help us achieve things outside of electoral politics. It's not going to help us organize, God willing, one day a general strike. Like, people could watch whatever they want. I think too much right now, the trend online is way too much of like, let me just go watch channels and hosts that validate what I already think 24/7. There's a whole like toxic mentality of unsubscribed, because like you're not feeding me what I want to hear 24/7. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think you should just go and try and just only consume, basically what you already agree with. That's not like news. That's just digital pep rallies. Again, you don't have to support Status Coup if you don't think we're hardcore enough, or you think whatever. Hey, you're free to support or not support whoever you want. I happen to think the benefit of us, even if you don't necessarily agree with my political opinions 24/7, I think why Status Coup is so important is we're on the ground covering stories that the national media mostly does not cover, or if they do cover it, ignore it. If they do cover it, kind of distort a lot of the stories we cover and push propaganda. So to me, I miss the day in class where you had to agree with everything a channel, with every opinion of a political host or every opinion of a channel. But in general, listen, the Democratic establishment is a well-oiled machine. I could tell you that from being on the road for 7 years. The Republican Party is a well-oiled machine. The corporate media is a well-oiled machine. They don't have these. They're not spending their time fighting one another for the most part. Obviously, we see the divisions of the Republican Party popping up. And I wasn't on, but bravo to the Freedom Caucus. I mean, I'm not a fan of their politics, but that's what we expected from the squad that they have failed to do. But to answer your question, I mean, I just think in general, it's become almost like a little meta industry on the internet, on the left, to just spend our time like attacking other YouTube hosts. And most of the time, people are just completely distorting things or distorting the takes of different people and making a molehill into a mountain. So, that's my opinion. But whether it's them or other channels, I mean, if they want to spend their time bashing me or Status Coup, have at it. I mean, nothing I could do about that.
Anybody else, Colin?
Okay. Or was that all for Charles here?
If he's got anything else.
Or he might not be here, so I'll go ahead and. But no one's in the queue right now.
All right. Call in if you want. 719-782-8871. We can talk about this. I'm probably going to wrap up soon just because I told my wife I'd only do an hour and obviously have a newborn. So got to tend to that. But before we get our next caller, just a quick reminder. Again, I'm probably starting next week. I'm not back like full time yet because I'm still working on the book. If you're interested, I have currently written 8 chapters. I'm on chapter 9. The goal is 14 or 15 chapters. It's taken a lot of time, each chapter. I still have to go back and, kind of edit some things. This is before a publisher has even said yes yet. But I have a viewer, actually, who's been amazing helping me edit the book. I probably talked to her more than my wife at this time because we're just going back and forth with the edits of the book. She's been amazing. This viewer who comes from the publishing world and reached out to me wanting to help. If I get published, it's because of her. And I'm hoping I actually got an email from a publisher while I've been live that's interested, but I've been, juggling a lot of things. Obviously, if you have a newborn, that's a 24/7 task, and just spending time with my daughter. And on another live stream, I'll show you more pictures of my daughter and kind of get corny about it. But she's starting to smile. She's starting to smile more, which is nice. If I have bags under my eyes, it's because I'm up not all night, but this morning in particular. My wife and I were both up probably from like 3 to 5 or so, feeding my baby and her crying and all that. So I'm up most nights with my wife, trying to be there for her and the baby. And then during the day, I've been writing. And if you've ever tried to write a book, it's not just the writing; it's trying to get a publisher. That's like another full-time job. Literally, the last 2 days I spent obviously on childcare, but submitting to one of the big publishers. And that's like, it's like applying to college. It's a long submission list, and I have to change all my proposals, and change each proposal to target the specific publisher. So it takes a lot of time. So don't think I've been off just chilling. I've been working. We got somebody come?
Yeah, we got a couple people. First one is Claire, calling about the nurses strike. Bring them in now. And Claire's on.
Yes, hi, Jordan.
Hey there.
I'm a nurse from Texas, and of course, being in Texas, I don't have the benefit of a union, but I do want to say from what I'm hearing about the nurses' strike in New York, all of their points are completely valid and have been going on for many, many years as far as working conditions, poor staffing. Here in Texas, we're just told, suck it up. Every time there's even the least bit of fear that we may be thinking about a union, there's meetings to crush it, and nurses themselves, unfortunately, tend to be buying into the propaganda that, oh, if we're unionized, then our pay will go down, we'll have even less staffing, et cetera. We won't be able to get rid of people that are lazy or correct, whatever. I mean, the divide and conquer tactic is used. But after being a nurse for many years, I have tons of shifts where I've never gotten a break, where I've worked 12 to 16 plus hours, never gotten a lunch. And the wage theft is real. They dock us for the pay, but yet we don't get it. And again, we're just told, suck it up, be grateful you have a job, etc. So anyway, just your thoughts. I know y'all been covering it, which I really do appreciate. And you have a newborn, so hopefully you got some idea of what it's like in the hospital.
I can just tell you.
Anecdotally, and my wife's in the chat, after she gave birth to my daughter, we were in the postpartum unit for like 3 days, and the nurses looked like they were like, I could just tell they were beyond overwhelmed and stressed. And at points, I had to go out and just search for, 5 to 10 minutes to find a nurse. And, in the moment as a patient, I was there with my wife and newborn, we're frustrated. But then you find out more, like, Jesus Christ, they're like, one nurse is dealing with 6 patients when they should really be dealing with 2 or 3, and as we covered the other day when we went out to cover the strike, they said they had double to triple the amount of patients that they normally have, that they can't take breaks, that a lot of them are quitting or just calling out sick, because it's not just the physical exhaustion, it's the mental exhaustion. And then you add on top, which I'm sure you've dealt with, COVID and the pandemic, which I know the media kind of has this psych op that it's all over. Clearly it's not over. There's still 400 people dying a day, and that's probably an undercount. And at a lot of these hospitals, they have openings and they have corporations that are making plenty of money. And this is a life or death matter. It's not just a moral issue that you as a nurse and your colleagues are being treated improperly. If you are severely, chronically understaffing these hospitals, what do you think that's going to do to patients? I mean, you're a human being. So if you are exhausted, you're going to make mistakes. That's just in any profession. You wouldn't want, you don't want people who are dealing with life or death, exhausted, mentally tired, which obviously leads to anxiety, depression, other things. So I think this is a crisis nationally. And we're hearing from nurses that they're even more understaffed now. In my opinion, we're still in a pandemic, but not as bad as it was with 3,000 people dying a day. So I think, something's got to be done. And I think people outside of the medical profession who aren't nurses need to stand with these nurses, because you want to know what? Any day you or your loved ones could find yourself in the hospital. We're seeing with COVID, more and more people are having, long COVID, heart issues, neurological issues from COVID that are hospitalizing them. So I'm totally in awe of what you do. And it's to me, it's really criminal what these hospitals are doing. Yeah, some of the hospitals have lost money over the years, but they're run by very wealthy people who could add proper staffing. So yeah, we're going to keep covering it because I'm pretty sure we're probably going to see more nurse strikes as this year goes on.
That's I don't see the hospitals getting the message ever. They're greedy. They have always been that way, unfortunately corrupt. They spend way more money on advertising, decorating, and then when we complain about the staffing, not even having the basic equipment to do our jobs, we're told, oh, that comes out of a different budget. Or the most common tactic I've seen over the years is the people complaining get targeted as having a bad attitude.
Yeah. Well,
I think most people would have a bad attitude if you're working 14 hours straight without a break and you are basically like running around like a rabbit trying to treat 6 or 7 patients who all have, different issues and need your undivided, as much of your undivided attention as you can get. Yeah, I think most people would complain about that. I promise you, your bosses and the wealthy people who own the hospitals don't work that hard. So, yeah, and I feel particularly, I feel for you particularly because in New York, like you said, these nurses are lucky that New York is, I think it's the number 1 or number 2 state in the country in terms of unionized workers. And Texas is probably very, very low on that list. So you don't have those type of protections down in Texas. So, and it's unfortunate because like we've seen with teachers, I think most nurses really do it not for a paycheck, but because they love what they do and they love helping people, whether it's delivering babies or elder care or whatever it is that is your unit. And to have that kind of love sucked out of you to the point where so many are thinking about quitting or are quitting, it's unfortunate for society because we need nurses. America before COVID, I mean, obesity and the amount of health problems we have in this country, I think teachers and nurses should be among the highest paid professions. So yeah, I think it all goes to what I was talking about before. People need to organize, even if you're not directly an Amazon worker, or you're not directly a Starbucks worker, or you're not directly a Trader Joe's workers, or you're not directly a nurse or a teacher. It all affects you. It all affects you because you have kids or you have loved ones that are sick, etc. So, yeah, thank you for what you do. I'm sorry to hear of the kind of hellhole you have to work in.
Yes, thank you, and congratulations and all on your baby. And you would probably understand with being on the postpartum unit and with a newborn, one of the issues that we're dealing with as nurses, I've worked in both the critical care, intensive care, and on regular floors, is we're dealing on the regular floors with sicker and sicker patients or higher risk patients. And on the regular, quote unquote, regular newborn nursery postpartum floors, we'll have women who are hemorrhaging. We'll have babies who weigh 4 pounds that are premature. And just because they're stable, they throw them in with 8 other patients. I mean, these patients need extra care, extra attention, and we're stretched so thin. And yeah, as a human being, how can you deal with that stress every day, especially when, like you said, people go into nursing? I did, and most people, because they care about people, not for money, not for status by any means, just for humanity, because you care, because you're a caring person.
I'm curious.
Asking you, do you get pushback and kind of attitudes from the patients because of they feel they're not getting adequate care? Do they kind of direct their anger at the nurses? Did you hear that?
I don't want them to think I didn't answer your call for however long because I'm out there smoking a cigarette or whatever. I mean, I'm doing it because we are short staffed, so we're put in a very precarious situation on that as well.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for what you're doing. And yeah, reach out to us if you got stories on anything going on at the hospital so we can cover it more. info@statuscoup.com. We got Lewis down there in Texas too, so maybe he can cover that a little bit more.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Colin, let's take one more before I go. And I'll read your super chats too at the end, so keep them coming. Thank you so much.
Okay, so all right, next up. Sorry, there's two callers, so sorry to the next one. But next up, we had David calling about California Senator. Or the autocomplete's kind of weird, but talking about Katie Porter and stuff. So bringing David in now. Okay, David, you're on.
Hi, Jordan. How are you?
Hey there.
Yeah, I just want to say that I was really excited when Katie Porter announced that she was going to run for Dianne Feinstein's seat in the Senate, and I thought she'd be a great candidate. But unfortunately, the next day, Barbara Lee also announced that she was going to be running for the same seat. And out of the two, I definitely would prefer Katie Porter. However, it just seems like this is another case of progressives diluting their influence by dividing the vote and having an establishment candidate come in and win. And I just wondered how you felt about that.
Yeah, I mean, I like Barbara Lee in terms of what she did with Afghanistan and the AUMF and being one of the brave people to actually speak out about us giving an unlimited just endless period that we could wage war on other stuff. I don't think she's any type of rabble rouser that's ever agitated the Democratic Party. Katie Porter, I like her a lot on her policies. I think she's really, really smart. Clearly, she comes prepared when grilling, corporate CEOs and stuff like that. Katie Porter kind of reminds me a little bit of Elizabeth Warren in terms of she's not wrong necessarily on policy, and she can definitely deliver a viral moment, grilling people in hearings and this and that. I don't know if Katie Porter necessarily is willing to go toe to toe with the Democratic establishment when they abandon their promises and Biden abandons, nobody is talking about Biden, and the Dems kept the Senate and didn't lose the House as bad, but nobody's challenging them or questioning them. Hey, what about the $15 minimum wage that you ran on? Democrats have an extra seat in the Senate now. So, and nobody's challenging them on the parliamentarian, and that we need to put that aside. Nobody's challenging Biden on the public option, which he ran on and hasn't mentioned in 2 years. So on policy, I like Katie Porter more than Barbara Lee, but none of these people are as aggressive as I think we need. But if you gave me the choice between Katie Porter, Barbara Lee, Adam Schiff's definitely going to run. I think he's horrible. I'm sure other people will jump in. You never know. Who knows? Gavin Newsom could jump in if he thinks.
If Adam Schiff runs, he's definitely going to get the backing of the Democratic establishment, and they do everything they can to crush either Porter or Lee.
I agree. And I think Porter and Lee might kind of take away votes from one another, whereas Adam Schiff would kind of have the establishment lane. I think Feinstein and her machine would probably throw their weight behind Adam Schiff. There's whispers of Ro Khanna running. I don't think Ro Khanna would have a chance, to be honest with you. But if it were between Katie Porter, Barbara Lee, Adam Schiff, I would definitely I'd have to look into a little bit more in terms of Barbara Lee's other policies. But from what I know, I like Katie Porter more than the rest of them. But I don't think anybody should be deluded into thinking any of these people are going to be rough riders and go after the Democratic establishment. They're not. We're just talking about, if you give me the choice between these people, Katie Porter, I think, is better.
Right. Unfortunately, I don't think there is anybody in Congress that would do what's necessary to challenge the Democratic establishment. I mean, the squad proved that when they laid down for Nancy Pelosi. I mean, what happened with the Republicans and the concessions that they got out of McCarthy in order for their vote, the Democrats could have done and should have done the same thing with Pelosi when they had the chance. And they just laid down and died.
I think what the Republicans, what they just did, the most important part of it, forget the concessions for a second, because what they got, they got a few things. So clearly leveraging your vote works. To me, the most important thing about what they did, and to me, why I was for force to vote, was the attention it would draw on the issue. Look at what the Republicans did. It was 5 days of nonstop media coverage on this, because the media, even though they don't like Medicare for all, they don't want to elevate Medicare for all, their main bias is conflict, sensationalism, and tension, because that draws ratings. So what the Freedom Caucus did was they got coverage for days on, it was critical, calling them rebels and all these derogatory things. But the point is, they got attention for days from all of the media. That's hundreds of millions of dollars of free advertising, basically. If the squad would have done that on Force the Vote for Medicare for all, no, it wouldn't have passed. I don't think anybody was saying it will pass. But the point was, you have a moment. You're not going to, if you're a healthcare advocate in this country, you're not going to have a better moment. You probably haven't had a better opportunity for decades than a once in a generation pandemic, where at that point, remember, 2,000 to 3,000 people were dying a day. So for the people that just say, oh, what's the point of doing it? It's not going to pass. Well, that's like, should Martin Luther King and the civil rights activists have not marched because they're not going to get what they want after one march? Or after 1 year? Of course not. That's not how politics
works. So
during a deadly pandemic, days and days and days of coverage on the issue of Medicare for all. The media could not have ignored it, because they would have been blocking the speaker vote, basically. Sure, the media would have castigated them as fucking domestic terrorists, and they would have gone after them hardcore. But the squad would have had the progressive base behind them. Including even people who might not agree on everything. They would have had hardcore progressives behind them, and the media would have had to cover Medicare for all, the fact that other countries in Europe were providing health care during this pandemic. And I think just the attention on the issue, particularly to the demographic that watches CNN, that watches MSNBC, that reads the New York Times, that reads the Washington Post, which is older. Not all old people are neoliberal. There's a lot of older people, including Watch Status Coup, that are, progressive. But we would have gotten more of the truth out in front of those people. And by the way, the squad, clearly they're too chicken to do it. They could have got on CNN, MSNBC, in the New York Times to make their case to that demographic that keeps voting for these politicians that refuse to implement Medicare for all. So I think people who just kind of right away dismiss it because what's the point of doing it if it's not going to pass? Well, yeah, it's not going to pass right away, but you have to have a couple losses before you get the win. And the bottom line is the Overton window does matter. The Overton window does matter. And I think if we would have had days and days, possibly weeks of coverage of, they're just asking for a vote on universal health care and and elevating that issue and forcing the media to cover it. I think that gets you closer to eventually passing it. The other thing is to, the people who say, well, we already know who was for it and who was against it. That's different than getting a vote and making people vote no against universal health care during a deadly pandemic. That is different. That would have made it easier for Jessica Cisneros in Texas to run against Henry Cuellar. If you could run against this corrupt Democrat who takes money from Big Pharma, voted against universal health care as 3,000 people were dying a day. That would have made it easier for Summer Lee, who did win narrowly. That would have made it easier for Nina Turner or other candidates who primary corporate anti-Medicare for all Democrats. So it does matter because it's not only getting them on the record, it's being able to use it as a potent political weapon. So I don't think forced to vote. I'm for it. I don't think it should be the be all end all. I don't think it makes somebody a bad person if they're not for it. We don't necessarily need to. I think this mentality in the left of we're going to cancel anybody that doesn't agree with us or has a different strategy. I mean, the establishment loves that because we're fighting amongst each other instead of fighting them. So I'm not going to cancel you if you're not forced to vote. But I do think forced to vote was right. And frankly, at this point, the squad is who they are. They've shown us who they are. So people need to figure out, all right, what now? Do people focus on primarying the squad to get people in there that share our policies but will actually fight, like Ashama Sawant? Do people focus on building a third party and say to hell with the Democratic Party? Do people focus on labor and the union drives and the strikes and the tenant unions? I'm not going to tell people I know some people want me to, declare fraud squad and, lift up their strategy. I'm a journalist. It's not my role to, I know some people don't like it, but it's just, I don't feel it's my role to advocate or prop up your preferred political strategy. However, I will say clearly the squad is not going to do what people want and what I want, to be clear. So it's a fool's errand. It's a fool's errand at this point to expect them to. So you either primary them and try to get new people in, or work on a third party, or work on the one thing that actually is showing momentum, which is the strikes, the union drives, tenants unions, and all those things. But to me, particularly on the railroad strike, I mean, I was off, but the way they twisted themselves into a pretzel to defend, the union bosses told us to. I mean, you basically voted to block them from striking. I mean, there's no excuse for that. I think to me, the question is not relitigating forced to vote. We could do that till we're blue in the face. It's what now? What now? So
right. And the problem is there's so many other representatives that are worse than them that could be primaried and could be voted out of office. That I think.
Listen, I'm not to me.
I just say I'm not telling people not to go after the squad. I'm saying, if you want to go after them, primary them. That's what I'm saying. Because what is it doing? Just spending our time bitching on the internet. If you feel like they lied to you, clearly AOC, I mean, she framed herself, sold herself as we're going to bring the ruckus against the Democratic Party. She said, I'd rather one term and to lose. And clearly she is not that person. Clearly she has misled people. So we could attack her online, which is fine. If people want to attack her, have at it. Or people could organize a primary against her. I think we need to vet candidates more. Clearly, it's not just enough not to take corporate money. It's not just enough to be for, right on the issues. We need to know, what is your strategy once you enter Congress? I'm not saying they need to block or try to block every single bill. I mean, there's some things that they shouldn't block. But if you're not willing at all to use your leverage, you're not willing at all to vote as a block, then we shouldn't elect you. The progressive movement shouldn't be pushing for those people if you're going to just go in there and go along to get along. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, I agree, and I just wish that there was a better system than a two-party system. If we could have half a dozen parties like they have in Europe, I think that things would be a lot better and you can get a lot more done.
Listen, I'd love 6 or 7 parties at this point.
Let's just get one third party that is, has their stuff together. I'm not against, like, it's always been interesting to me when people say I'm anti-third party. I'm not anti-third party. I actually, in 2016, when I was at the Young Turks, as far as I know, I'm the only one that went on the road and covered Jill Stein in the independent media sphere. I went to the Green Party convention in 2016 or 17 and covered that. In 2022, I probably interviewed more third party candidates than most others. I was the first one to interview Matthew Ho. As far as I know, I interviewed independent candidates. I interviewed libertarian candidates who one of them in particularly was running in AOC's district and forced to drop out. So I'm totally for third parties. My thing has just been, if you're going to try and build a third party, you got to figure out how to get on the ballot. You have to figure out a legal strategy because the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are going to try every dirty trick in the book. You have to figure out a media strategy because you're either going to be castigated as spoilers or just ignored. And you have to, every state is different in terms of ballot requirements and things like that. So to me, I'm not against a third party. I just, the Green Party obviously has had success on the local level. They've gotten victories on the local level. Nationally, not as much. So to me, hey, I'd love to see a third party. I'm not telling people to dem enter. To me, I don't think it's like my role to cheerlead for take over the Democratic Party or to build a third party or fuck electoral politics. Like, I don't think that's the role of a reporter. I share my opinion, and obviously, journalists have opinions, but like, it's not the role of a reporter to be part of the organizing of politics. To me, that would be unethical. Some people might not agree with that. Some people think you should, as a reporter, pick a side and help them organize. I don't think that's ethical as a journalist. Examples, when I was at Standing Rock, when I've been in Flint, there have been people, good intentioned people, that have asked me to take part, like in organizing their protest or actions or things like that. I had to say no, because you can't be part of the organizing and then cover something. That's crossing the line between activism and journalism.
There's no neutrality at that point.
Then you're just an activist.
And I love activists. A lot of the stories I've broke have come from activists that I've worked with and building those sources. But to me, I think, listen, if you want to attack a journalist because you think they interviewed somebody and didn't challenge them enough, fair game. If you want to attack reporters because you don't think they're covering the right things and you think they should be covering other things, totally fair game. If you want to attack reporters because you think they cover the Republicans too much and don't cover the Democrats enough, or vice versa, fair game. But to attack reporters because you think they're not like, they're not with you on your strategy. Like, people could do that, but I think that's misunderstanding the role of a journalist. And also, like, to attack journalists merely for covering elections that have a Democrat running, as that means they're trying to prop up the Democrat. That just doesn't make sense. It's like, there's elections in America. Like, I'm a journalist, I cover them. If there were more high profile elections with third party candidates, I'd cover that too. So yeah, that's my long-winded answer. Anyway, I got to wrap up. I have
a newborn, and I told my wife
I'd be live for a year. Excuse me. I'd be live for an hour, and I think I've been live for 2 hours. So let me give you a couple public service announcements. Number one, like I said, I'm not back full time yet. I'm working on my book, which right now I have 8 chapters done. I think I'm already at like 20,000 words, so it's gonna be a long book. But I think so far, I think I'm very, very happy with what we've written. What I've written. I have a viewer actually who's been amazing and helping me with the editing process. I'm starting on chapter 9, but in addition to the writing, I've been working on trying to find a publisher, which I haven't found yet, but hopefully I will have a publisher that's I was reaching out during the holidays, so obviously I didn't expect to hear back from a publisher yet. I actually, while I've been live, got an email from one that is interested. I'm reaching out to small publishers and big publishers. So hopefully I get a publisher. It's been a lot of work behind the scenes. I have not been just chilling with my newborn. I wish. But I could say that I am very fortunate that I've been able to take this time to spend with my newborn, my daughter, who is just amazing. And yeah, can't put it in words. Having a child, it changes your life. And fortunately, she's doing well and she's healthy. And my wife is doing well. Fortunate that Status Coup viewers, even though obviously viewership has been down, part of that is because we're being suppressed. There's other reasons for that, but thank you for supporting us while I've been off air. I'm going to try and pop in more, like do a live stream or two per week as the year goes on. And then hopefully in February, I'll be back more permanently if I can get more writing done. If I get a publisher, just to tell you, I'm going to have a deadline to finish the book. So I might be, there might be hot and cold periods where I'm back, but then periods where I'm not on as much so I could focus on the book. So just bear with me. Obviously, we've had Ron and Tina filling in for me, and they've been great. They'll be live at 5:00 Eastern, by the way, covering the Supreme Court deliberations right now. The Supreme Court is literally hearing a case that they might rule to basically make it next to impossible to go on strike. So that is a critical case right now in the Supreme Court that I promise you the corporate media is not covering. They're also going to cover the latest, I believe, with efforts to ban politicians trading stock. Also, end of the month, the 28th and 29th, Saturday the 28th and the 29th, we are going to be having a mega stream on Saturday the 28th and Sunday the 29th from noon to 3 Eastern. So put it in your calendar. That's January 28th, 29th, noon to 3 Eastern. So far, we got Marianne Williamson joining us, Frances Fisher, the actress who is in a new film about Standing Rock, Nina Turner, Christian Small, Stephen Donziger. I have requests out to other people as well. Michael Moore, hopefully we could get. I have requests out to Shama Sawant, requests out. My brain is malfunctioning, but a few other people. So hopefully we can get more people. Tina and Ron will be on as well. What else? Also, please subscribe to our Substack. You can subscribe for free to our Substack. We're going to be doing more on Substack. Really, what we've been doing at Substack is just posting before we go live. So if you're not going to get a notification from YouTube, which happens a lot, you'll get the email before we go live. So statuscoup.substack.com. So you'll get an email from Substack before we go live. We're also going to start doing more original content on Substack. So please, Chuck Modi is going to be on with us for the marathon. He's great, a reporter in DC. So statuscoup.substack.com, statuscoup.substack.com. Obviously, you can subscribe to our email list. Go to statuscoup.com for our email list. That's all I have for now. Ron and Tina will be live at 5:00 Eastern. Let me read the super chats before I go. Colin, where are they?
Just on screen there.
Das Bo's Fleisch, 249 euros. Welcome back, Jordan. Thank you very much. Cat Faye Garrett, $50. Keep the lights on. Thank you so much, Cat Faye Garrett. Appreciate that kind contribution. Aaron, $20. I support Status Coup because Jordan keeps it real. While I generally agree, I'm happy to not agree so long as there's no smoke being blown. I appreciate that, and I appreciate different views. Just keep it on the real. Aaron, from your lips, if there is a God's ear, because I think too many people are not happy for any disagreement, and I think too many people on the left, and this started probably after Bernie dropped out the first time, started to ascribe like differences of opinions to impure motives. And if you don't agree with me on force the vote or other things, that means you're a sellout or like MSN or part of the DNC. And, I just think that's an unfortunate way to look at the world because how are we ever going to win anything politically if we're just canceling each other constantly? and causing these divisions between each other and categorizing each other as real left or fake left based on if we don't agree on every single thing. I mean, I don't think that's going to get us anywhere. Trust me, the Democratic establishment, believe it or not, don't agree on all things. The Republican establishment don't agree on all things, but they don't spend their time fighting amongst each other. And in some cases they do, like we just saw by the Freedom Caucus. But if the left is going to spend the next, 2 to 3, 5 years, this continued circular firing squad of YouTube hosts fighting and channels fighting and Twitter fighting and all this popcorn shit. Yeah, I mean, some might say, well, Jordan, it's important because we need to, exfiltrate the fake left, and we need to elevate the real left. Okay, so then what? Seriously, then what? After we've done the work of getting rid of all the fake left and propping up the real left, then what's the plan? Seriously, what's the plan? Because it doesn't seem like anyone's answered that. So that's all I got. Thank you for watching. We'll obviously cover the classified documents more as more information comes out. Like I said, I'll probably do a live stream or 2 maybe next week. It just depends on the writing and the newborn. So yeah, that's all I got. Thank you for watching, and come on back at 5 o'clock Eastern for Ron and Tina co-hosting. And then at 6 o'clock Eastern, we'll have Tina Desiree Berg's right-wing insanity report right after the main live stream at 5 o'clock Eastern. Take care.